there, it's Drew from Brit Chat Club with a video of Literature Explained. In this series of videos, I'm going to help you understand great works of British literature. Obviously, for the first video in this series, there's no better place to start than with the great bard himself, Shakespeare. In this video, we're going to look at a speech from the play King Lear. First of all, let's have a look at the video content. To begin with, we're going to have a look at the background of the play King Lear. So don't worry if you haven't studied it or seen it before. We'll also be looking at one of the characters called Edmund in the play. Edmund is important because we're going to be looking at one of his speeches in the play today. To help us understand Edmund's soliloquy, we're going to begin by looking at a modern version. After looking at the modern version, we'll review it with some questions to make sure you understand. Then we'll be looking at some vocabulary that you'll need to know to help you to understand the Shakespearean version. Finally, we'll be looking at the original Shakespearean soliloquy. And hopefully, from watching all the content in the video, you'll be able to understand it. At the end, there'll be a review of everything we've covered in today's lesson. Let's get to it. King Lear is a tragedy written by William Shakespeare. The play tells the story of the old King Lear, who decides to divide his kingdom among his 3 daughters, based on how much they flatter him. The 2 eldest daughters, Goneril and Regan, lie to their father about how much they love him and receive their fair share of his wealth and land. However, his youngest daughter, Cordelia, honestly expresses her love for him, and in return receives nothing. Lear's poor judgment leads to his downfall, as his 2 eldest daughters, Goneril and Regan, betray him and drive him into madness. Eventually, Cordelia returns to help her father towards the end of the play, but both of them meet a tragic fate. Throughout the play, the themes of power, betrayal, and madness are explored. In today's video, we're going to look at the character Edmund. In King Lear, Edmund is the illegitimate child of the Duke of Gloucester. Illegitimate means that he was born outside of marriage. Edmund is a cunning and ambitious person who wants to take the wealth, title, and lands of his legitimate elder brother, Edgar. In the play, Edmund deceives his father, the Duke of Gloucester, into thinking that Edgar, his elder brother, is plotting against him. Throughout the play, Edmund's actions contribute to the chaos and tragedy as he betrays his father and other characters within the play. Ultimately, Edmund's treachery is exposed and he is killed by his elder brother, Edgar. Edmund gives a very passionate and moving speech in Act 1, Scene 2 of King Lear. This speech is also known as a soliloquy, which is when the character speaks directly to the audience. We're going to be analysing this soliloquy in today's video. Edmund's soliloquy reveals his attitude and intentions. He tells the audience of his resentment at being treated as an illegitimate child. He rejects the idea that being illegitimate makes him less worthy than his elder brother Edgar. Edmund goes against the social norms at the time that favour legitimate children, and he decides through treachery and manipulation that he will inherit his father's title. The soliloquy shows Edmund's cunningness, his ambition, and his willingness to challenge society to reach his goals. So, let's have a look at Edmund's soliloquy. As I said in the beginning, we're going to look at the modern version first, which is a little bit easier to understand. So I want you to listen and read the modern version and get ready for some questions later. Listen to me read it to you. You can watch and pause the video whenever you like to help you to understand.
You, nature, are my goddess, and I only serve the laws of nature. So why should I put up with the sick injustice of man-made social rules, which deprive me of rights just because I was born some 12 or 14 months after my brother? Why call me bastard? Why is a bastard inherently worthless, when I am as sound in my body and my mind as any legitimate child? Why do they call us worthless, with worthlessness, bastard, worthless, worthless? We bastards were at least conceived in a moment of passionate, stealthy lust, and so we have a stronger and fiercer nature than those shallow fools who were conceived in a dull, stale, tired marriage bed, where half-asleep couples churn out whole tribes of children. Well then, legitimate brother Edgar, I must have your land. Our father loves me just as much as he loves his legitimate son. What a fine word, legitimate. Well, my legitimate brother, if this letter succeeds and my plan goes well, Edmund the worthless will triumph over Edgar the legitimate. I will grow, I will prosper. Now, gods, stand up for the bastards.
So, you've listened to and read the modern version of Edmund's speech or soliloquy. Next, we're going to have a look at some questions. If you want, you can pause or rewind to double check the meaning to help you to answer them. Let's get into it. Number 1. What is Edmund not happy about? Number 2. What ideas in society does Edmund not agree with? Number 3. What reasons does he give for why he should be treated fairly? Number 4. How does he criticize legitimate children? And number 5, what's his plan? I'll reveal the answers in a few seconds, so if you want some more time to think, remember to pause and go back if you want to check your ideas. Right, let's have a look at the answers. Number 1, what is Edmund unhappy about? Edmund is unhappy about being treated as less because of his birth as an illegitimate child. He resents the social norms at the time and the limitations that it places on his rights and opportunities. Number 2, what ideas in society does Edmund disagree with? Edmund disagrees with the idea that illegitimate children should be treated differently. He rejects the idea that his value and ability should be decided by his birth. Number 3, what reasons does Edmund give for why he should be treated fairly? Edmund argues that he is just as talented and capable as legitimate children. He does this by talking about his intelligence and his physical attractiveness. Edmund believes that his abilities should get the same respect and opportunity as legitimate children born inside a marriage. Number 4, how does he criticize legitimate children? He criticizes legitimate children by saying that they are often the product of passionless unions within a married couple, whereas bastard or legitimate children are conceived through passion and desire. Because of this, he implies that legitimate children are weak and unremarkable in comparison to bastards like himself, which are born through intense and exciting lovemaking. Number 5, what is Edmund's plan? Edmund's plan is to trick his father, the Duke of Gloucester, into thinking that his elder legitimate son, Edgar, is plotting against him. By doing this, he hopes to discredit Edgar so that Edmund can get his position. Now that you've had a look at the modern version of the play and you've checked the questions and the answers, you should have a good understanding to prepare you for the Shakespearean version. However, before we look at the Shakespearean version, there's some vocabulary that we need to check together. Let's have a look at the vocabulary together now. You can practice the pronunciation as well. The first word is just used in Shakespearean English, so don't worry too much about that one, but the other 9 words are quite useful in modern English. Number 1 is moonshines. Number 2 is to be legitimate or to be illegitimate. Number 3 is to be stale. Number 4 is to prosper. Number 5 is to deprive. Number 6 is dimensions. Number 7 is to thrive. Number 8 is to be bound. Number 9 is a plague. And number 10 is to lust. For the next section of the video, I'm going to show you the meaning, but I'm not going to tell you which word it matches for a few seconds. So I want you to read the meaning with me, and you have a few moments to think about which word it matches to. Let's check them together. The first meaning is born to parents that are legally married. Hopefully this is an easy one, as we've already looked at it in today's video. The meaning is legitimate. The opposite is illegitimate or bastard. Next, we have a widespread disease or something that causes a lot of pain and suffering. This one is a plague, And in today's play, the meaning has the idea of causing lots of pain and suffering. The next definition we have is to be old, or no longer fresh, or no longer exciting or interesting. This one is to be stale. The next word refers to the light of the moon, and from this definition, I'm sure you can guess that the answer is moonshines. However, in the context of the play, it means something that is unreal. Edmund uses this word moonshines to mock the idea of fate. He suggests that fate is easily changed and unreliable, like the light of the moon. The next definition is to take something away from someone or prevent someone from having something. This one is deprive. Next, we've got the measurements of something, which hopefully you can guess means the dimensions of something. In the play, it's used to describe the physical or personal characteristics of someone's dimensions. Next definition is to be successful, especially financially, and it means to grow well. This word is to prosper. The next definition means to be tied up or restricted. However, in the play, it has the similar meaning of feeling that you have to do something. You're obligated to perform some action. This one is to be bound. And finally, we have the very strong desire to do something, normally used with a desire which is seen as wrong. This one is to lust. We often say to lust after something. So you've had a look at these 10 words which are used in the Shakespearean version of the play. To make sure you've understood them, we've got a little gap fill in the next section of the video. So I'm going to read a sentence and I want you to figure out which word from the vocabulary section fits into the sentence. Let's get to it. Number 1. Edmund dislikes being called an child because it makes him feel inferior. Number 2. Edmund mocks the belief in faith and fortune as Number 3. Edmund's strong desire for power and control is driven by his for authority. Number 4. Edmund plans to his brother Edgar of their father's position. Number 5. Edmund uses the belief in astrology to show how people rely on ideas. Number 6. Edmund wants to by taking the lands and title of his legitimate brother. Number 7. As Goneril and Regan gain power, they while their father suffers. Number 8. Edmund feels that he should not be by the rules of society that favour legitimate children. Number 9. The different of Edmund's character are shown through his deceit and ambition. And number 10. Edmund's ambition and manipulation create a of conflict within the kingdom. Did you manage to match all of the vocabulary to the correct sentence? If you need more time, feel free to rewind and go back and check. I'll reveal the answers in a few seconds. For number 1, we had the word illegitimate. Edmund dislikes being called an illegitimate child because it makes him feel inferior. Number 2, we had the word moonshines. Edmund mocks the belief in fate and fortune as moonshines. Number 3, we had the word lust. Edmund's strong desire for power and control is driven by his lust for authority. For number 4, we had the word to deprive. Edmund plans to deprive his brother Edgar of their father's position. Number 5, we've got the word stale. Edmund uses the belief in astrology as a way to show how people rely on stale ideas. Number 6, the answer was prosper. Edmund wants to prosper by taking the lands and title of his legitimate brother. Number 7, we had to thrive. As Goneril and Regan gain power, they thrive while their father suffers. Number 8, we had to be bound. Edmund feels he should not be bound by the rules of society that favour legitimate children. Number 9, we had dimensions. The different dimensions of Edmund's character are shown through his deceit and ambition. And number 10, we had a plague. Edmund's ambition and manipulation create a plague of conflict in the kingdom. So we've checked some of the vocabulary that's going to feature in the Shakespearean version of Edmund's speech. It's a good idea for you to practice using this vocabulary if it's new for you. If you want, you can make some sentences and pop them in the comment section below. I'd love to see your ideas. For now, though, we're going to go on to the original Shakespearean version. You've looked at the background of the play, you've got some information about the character Edmund, and you've already seen the modern version. So what I want you to do now is listen to the original version and try to understand as much as you can. Remember, you can pause, you can rewind, you can listen as many times as you like. Right, let's have a look at the Shakespearean version of Edmund's soliloquy.
Thou, nature, art my goddess, to thy law my services are bound. Wherefore should I stand in the plague of custom and permit the curiosity of nations to deprive me? For that I am some 12 or 14 moonshines lag of a brother? Why bastard? Wherefore base, when my dimensions are as well compact, my mind as generous, and my shape as true, as honest madmen's issue? Why brand they us with base, with baseness, bastardy, base, base? Who in the lusty stealth of nature take more composition and fierce quality than doth within a dull, stale, tired bed? Go to the creating a whole tribe of fops, got 'tween sleep and wake. Well then, legitimate Edgar, I must have your land. Our father's love is to the bastard Edmund, as to the legitimate. Fine word, legitimate. Well, my legitimate, if this letter speed and my invention thrive, Edmund the base shall top the legitimate. I grow, I prosper. Now, gods, stand up for bastards.
So now you've listened to and read the original Shakespearean version. I've got some questions I want you to think about. You can let me know your ideas in the comment section below. First of all, how much did you understand? Let me know. Next, were there any words or phrases that you weren't sure about? Next, what's your impression of Edmund? Do you think he's just a typical bad guy, or do you have some sympathy for him? Do you think that audiences today view Edmund differently to how audiences would have viewed him in Shakespeare's time? And finally, what would you do if you were in Edmund's place? I'd love to hear your ideas. Let me know. Finally, let's have a quick review of everything we've covered in today's lesson. So first of all, we looked at the background of the play for King Lear. We focused in on the character Edmund and found out more about him. We looked at what Edmund tries to tell us in his soliloquy. We looked at the modern version of the speech. You've answered some questions about the modern version to help you understand the context. You've looked at some vocabulary which are used in the Shakespearean version. And finally, you've done something amazing. You've listened to and you've read a real original Shakespearean speech in Shakespearean English. Well done. Finally, if you're interested in online lessons with me, you can check out my website, britchatclub.com. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.